Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the April Rural Impact Monthly Meeting. Welcome.
Good morning.
Morning. Morning. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and we'll begin just by offering a review of our agenda for today. So our welcome has just happened. We'll take a moment of recognition and tribute to Mr. Sam Scruggs, engage in our roll call, have an opportunity to learn from Kevin Kelly from Community Action Partnership and New Job Creation and Economic Development Strategy, and then we'll transition into the last segment of our meeting, which is our Rural Impact Update. So with that said, we'll proceed to the next slide. Yes, and for those of you who are not aware, we are sad to inform everybody that our very dear colleague, Mr. Sam Scruggs, actually passed away last week. He passed away suddenly on last Monday, and the folks at the agency at Mississippi County, Community Action, as well as that community, and all of us are just in shock and really heartbroken and at the loss of Mr. Scruggs. I personally had an opportunity to visit the agency back in the fall, and have to say that I really had no idea about the magnitude of his leadership within that agency and certainly into that community until I had an opportunity to step on the ground and breathe the air and to see the numerous innovative things that have taken place under his leadership. I think it is that he served the agency for about 39 years, and so really was an institution within that agency, within the community, and it is a tremendous loss. And so on behalf of those of us with the Rural Impact Project, we certainly express our deepest condolences and really share in the heartbreak with the folks at Mississippi County and in that community in Blytheville. I'm not sure if our colleague Priscilla Johnson is on the call this morning. Priscilla, by chance, are you on the line? Okay, maybe not. At this time, though, we'd just like to give us an opportunity to just take a moment of silence just to remember Mr. Scruggs and in our own way that we are most familiar to offer thoughts and prayers and positive expressions toward Mr. Scruggs and our colleagues in Mississippi County. So we'll just take a quick moment of silence. And we thank you for serving this moment, and once again, our hearts go out to the family of Mr. Scruggs and to our colleagues at Mississippi County. So at this time, we will transition to our next slide and engage in our roll call. So let's begin by checking in to see if anybody from Kentucky. Is anybody from Kentucky on the line? How about Utah? Is Utah on the line today?
This is Kelly Thornton. I'm here, and I see Greg Jackson, and I think there's another group also.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us. And I'll check again for our colleagues in Arkansas. Are you on the line? All right, how about Ohio? All right, next slide. Iowa. Is Iowa on the line today? How about our colleagues from Maryland?
Hey, this is Greg and Crawford and Daphne Gooding.
Welcome. Thanks for joining. How about Minnesota?
Glad to be
here. Good. Are our colleagues from Minnesota on the line this morning?
Hi, this is Kim Turner from White Earth calling.
Hi, Kim. Welcome.
Hi, and Cindy Rasted is here too, and then Hannah, our Vista worker, will be jumping on later, but I have her up working with one of our partners right now. So,
thank you very much for the update and welcome. How about Oklahoma? Is Oklahoma on the line?
Hello, this is Johnny Moffitt at Little Dixie in Oklahoma. I'm filling in for Don McDaniels, and Becky Reynolds, she's in actually in Kansas at a Federal Reserve meeting, but so I'm going to try to do what I can to add to the meeting.
Thank you very much, Johnny. Has anyone from Mississippi joined us today? How about our colleagues in Maine? Is Maine on the line?
Yep. Hi, this is Marcia Sloan, and I'm here with Charlie Martinberry.
Hello. Good to see your faces. All right. Okay. Well, we thank you all again for joining this morning. And if someone joined the line while we were doing roll call, if you could just check in.
This is Greg Jackson from Blanding, Utah, Stand One Foundation. I came in later. I was working on my audio. Sorry.
No problem. Welcome. Thank you for joining. So today we have the opportunity to spend some time sort of thinking about a larger theme, which really has to do with sustainability. So on one hand, we're thinking a lot about programmatic sustainability, but also thinking about community sustainability so that we can provide meaningful connections for families who have various needs, but certainly as it relates to that whole economic development piece, job creation piece of things. And so with that in mind, today's session is very much focused on the community economic development part of the conversation, and we thought that we would invite you all to kind of think about that by posing the following question, and that is, what is the most important economic asset in your community? So as you think about your own communities, what would you say are the most important economic assets that you have access to? And we'd like to invite you to utilize the chat window as you respond to that. And as you're thinking about that, it is my joy to go ahead and introduce our guest speaker to us on this morning. Our speaker actually comes from the Community Action Partnership team. His name is Kevin Kelly, and Kevin serves as the project director for our community economic development effort at the partnership, and he'll tell a little bit more about his work and why it's important. But Kevin, we welcome you to today's discussion and are happy to pass the baton over to you. Thank you for joining us. We'll go to the next slide.
Thank you, Tiffany. Okay. 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 There's a whole lot of different ways that we can create jobs in our communities, and we're going to talk about some of those today. But I was asked actually to start off by showing some pictures of nonprofits, a lot of them community action agencies, and some of the strategies that they've done, so you can get sort of an idea of what has been done and it's out there, and to give you some hope for efforts that you might take. So we're going to do that first, actually, and then we're going to talk more specifics about some of these. And a couple of our participants here from Little Dixie and Garrett County will also weigh in. But first off, let's show you a picture of a restaurant. Small business lending is a pretty common activity by a lot of nonprofits, and so here's an example of a small business in Virginia that got a small business loan from one of our member groups. Here's a mobile farmers market that is in Pennsylvania. They drive the van around and sell items that are produced there in the region to farmers markets throughout that part of Pennsylvania. And here's another picture of the same company, and you can see some of the things that they have selling for sale there on the table. Now, this is a whitewater rafting, kayaking facility in Garrett County in western Maryland. Has put together to bring more tourists in and actually have international competition. So the folks from Oakland, from Garrett County, do you want to go ahead and describe what you've done a little bit here?
Sure, I'd be happy to. What you're seeing is a picture of the Adventure Sports Center International, which was, when it was built, it was one of two recirculating whitewater courses in the United States. The Adventure Sports Center is a 501c3 entity, and it was created as we're a four-season resort area, and Community Action got involved with some CSPG money to create jobs, so it was seen as a driver for economic development. And the concept was it would create 75 to 80 jobs in the summertime with raft guides, and then in the wintertime that pool of employees could work for the ski slopes, which this is located right next to. So there would be a year-round employment opportunity, entry-level type jobs, service jobs, but nonetheless jobs for some of the people that we serve. There's been a lot of lessons learned along the way, and I can go into them if you like. The venture stumbled. We did have board support. I should back up and say it was long debated by the Community Action Board about whether to get into this type of venue. Did this type of venue and action serve the mission of Community Action? And after about a year's debate, they decided that it did, and they moved forward with the blessing of the board. The Community Action pledged about $275,000 in community service block grants to help create it. But the venture stumbled right just about from the beginning. Midway through construction, there was a lot of cost overruns in it. And there were overly optimistic projections about how many riders, how many people you could get down the course, and how profitable it would be. It did incur about $3.2 million in additional debt. So it was burdened from the start, and it came into existence right about the time when the economy started to tilt. It is a world-class venue, and as Mr. Kelly mentioned, it did play host in 2014 to the International Canoe Federation's World Slalom Canoe Championships, Canoe and Kayak Championships, which brought in about 42 nations, over 750 athletes from around the world. We got NBC Universal Sports coverage on it. The event generated about another $2.3 million in grants to help enhance and tweak the course and the venue, but it did lose money on the sponsorship side of that event in the equation, and the county had subsequently stepped in to help prop it up and stabilize it. One of the upsides of having a course like this and an event like this was it did get us on the radar for Washington, D.C.'s Olympic bid for 2024, and it was designated as an Olympic site should their application had it prevailed, along with two other events that when the people came out to review the course, we also got two other events to be located here. Unfortunately, they didn't prevail, but it did draw some interest in it. Locals tend to dislike the venue. They say it siphoned away a lot of county money that could have been put towards other things. As it stands now, there's very little political will to do anything with it. It does break even. It does employ about 75 to 80 folks a year, like it was intended to do, but some of the lessons learned are there's got to be political will for projects, there's got to be a vision, there's got to be local buy-in and board support. There needs to be contingency plans. You need good consultants and understand that success is measured in a lot of different metrics. So that's my short story, and I'll answer any questions or expand on anything later on.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mm-hmm.
The next slide is actually another one of our participants today from Little Dixie, manages facilities over in the state park there in Oklahoma. So, folks in Little Dixie, would you like to describe what you're doing?
Well, ours actually started out of way back in about '94 under President Clinton administration. There were empowerment zones, and I think Vice President Gore was really spearheading that up. And Little Dixie, because of the high distressed poverty areas that we have down here in southeast Oklahoma, we applied for that, and we didn't get an empowerment zone designation, but we got an enterprise community designation, which was part of that. And that came with about $1.3 million. And one of the projects, one of the big projects that the folks in this area wanted to see was something to be developed from a tourism level, because we don't have a whole lot of things going on in this small area of the state. And the Corps of Engineers had shut down what they called Comiskey Park. It had been closed off for about 10 or 15 years, and it had all these pavilions and picnic benches, and people remembered going there, and they said, is there any way that we could maybe get with the Corps and possibly do something there to open that back up? And so when we got that EC designation, that allowed Little Dixie to hire an economic developer, to hire a tourism development person. And this particular person had a lot of relationships from the state legislator level, and they were able to, in short end of it, go in with a partnership on a lease, no-cost lease with the Corps of Engineers, and open that back up, do all the clearing, get that open back up, and this was about 95, 96. And then we started building cabins with some grants through the Office of Community Services. We had about a $500,000 grant through there. We had an AmeriCorps grant where we had all those AmeriCorps workers that came out and put in a lot of labor and help in building all those cabins. We have 26 cabins out there in all. We have 16 of them that are full-service cabins that set out on Hugo Lake. We've got 10 of them that are more the smaller primitive cabins. And they've really been a boon to our economy. We rent those just about every weekend out of the year, especially in the summertime. But we actually worked toward getting a state park designation in 2003. So it became Comiskey Park to a state park designation. That really put us on the map there. And we operated as 10 years as a state park. In 2003, unfortunately, because the state took a big budget cut, they actually we were going to be one of about 12 state parks that they weren't going to be able to support with some subsidy. But we managed to maintain that designation. We lost the subsidy. We couldn't overcome that, but we're still surviving through just promoting it as much as we can. We get a lot of people out of state, especially up from the Texas area. We've utilized this to promote some other things that we've got going on in the community, some other tourist attractions, and it's really turned out to be, it employs about, in this small area, it employs about 15 people overall. That may not sound like much, but for a little place like Choctaw County, it's huge. And then the people that come and stay with us, we have about 100,000 visitors overall in a year's time. Now, not all those are renting cabins, but the ones that do, all those folks are coming here and they're spending dollars at the local restaurants as well. They're spending dollars at the convenience stores and the clothing stores and sporting goods and what have you. And so it's really been a boon for us.
Okay, thanks. That's a good story. Okay, here's another example. This is a pretty sophisticated project, but just again to kind of give you some vision of what all the possibilities are. One of the groups in Southwest Virginia partnered with the state actually and developed a combination visitor center and kind of a showcase of Southwest Virginia culture, so you can go in there and buy art that is produced by people from that region, but it also has a very sophisticated way to find out what's going on, a way of music and entertainment and other things in that part of the state. You can make reservations and do everything with a touch screen there in the center. It's really pretty amazing. It's helped to increase tourism in that part of Virginia. Here's another example. This is a small business loan as well, but in Virginia there's been a real growth in wineries, and so obviously they need barrels. So one thing to kind of look at what sectors of the economy are growing and see what might be needed and try to facilitate small business growth in those particular areas. This is back to Pennsylvania. In addition to selling things, they're trying to help the agricultural economy by getting more products, in this case canned, but value added is the term for it. So that just the raw agricultural product, you're also helping to process it, which then leads to a higher income when you sell products. So they have a facility that allows people to can, to bottle, and so forth, good products. Whoop. What else is far? And this is another interesting example. In Washington State, one of the local community action agencies actually owns 4 wind turbines. It's right on the Pacific Ocean, so the wind comes blowing through there and then generates electricity, which they then sell to the local utility, and that generates for them $600,000 a year that they can use for whatever they desire for other services that they're trying to provide. As another small business, homemade sweets. This is also a more sophisticated project. Again, one of our members partnered with the state and actually built a meeting facility there in what's DePortes County in Virginia. And so you can have meetings. It's used for weddings and used for small conferences. They have a restaurant there, they have a gift shop and other things. So it brings some people into that county, which is in need of outside income. Another part of Virginia is a famous theater, and they want to expand. So again, one of the community action groups that took on the project and did an annex across the street with another theater, so employs more people and brings more people into the town. So you can have 2 things going on at once, not just one. That has been the case. Helping people do the small business plan is another important strategy. So here you have a lady who's holding up her business plan that one of the local groups helps her to put together. Organizing trails has been an interesting strategy. So this group in northern Arizona organizes called the Tourism Trail. Goes up to Native American sites in that part of the state. They end up spinning it off to somebody else who now operates it, but they got it going, and in Virginia here where I live, it's been a big deal. So there's a music trail, there's a artisans trail, there's an oyster trail, there's all this stuff. It's very organized, and the state helps advertise it, so it does bring a lot of people to some rural areas of the state that wouldn't otherwise be going down there. All right, so now let's talk a little bit more detail. What are some advantages that nonprofit groups, including community action agencies, have to start out with? If you're trying to do economic development in a rural area, to start a new group from scratch can be very difficult. It's hard to find the funding sources to do that. Where a lot of the groups that are already there, you have an office, you have staff, you have a lot of infrastructure. It's basically adding somebody dedicated to this type of project as opposed to starting out something from scratch. You also have a lot of existing partnerships already in place that you can leverage in new ways around economic development. You're known in the community, so you're not starting from scratch. People wondering who the heck you are. You've already got the credibility. And since you're all selected by the White House to be part of this rural impact site, you've got some notoriety and credibility from that as well. And you can see in the slide that I want to emphasize this can be done. There's already groups out there doing this. This is not something that's brand new or untried. And some of these projects have generated a lot of income and employing a significant number of people. And the question is, what approach makes the most sense in your area? Some examples you're talking about, you might be thinking, well, we can't put wind turbines where we are, or we can't do this project. But it's not the specific things, it's the idea behind it. Think about what do you have, what can you do to build on those assets and then create some new jobs and new businesses. I want to mention that there's this Asset Community Development Institute, which has some publications that help you think through the process, what assets you have and how they might best be utilized. So we don't have time to go into that here, but if you want to check out their website and see what their publications are, I would encourage you to do that. Some things to consider. One of the advantages of you're creating jobs that small businesses or businesses that are actually owned by the nonprofit, they're not going to up and move. Some areas that have been hurt by closing of furniture, textile, or the coal, other kinds of sectors in the economy. But if you have a small business, you can't move to China or Mexico. You're going to make it there and hire local people, spend your money locally on other businesses, and recycle the money in your community. Another thing besides starting new ones is trying to identify existing small businesses that have some potential for growth, make loans or provide assistance to them and help them to reach their potential. You also start a social enterprise if you're a nonprofit that you own that can feed money back into your organization, and you can use it for other social services that you might need. So what are some of the things that communities often need? I mean, loan capital is one of them. Certainly, small businesses have a hard time getting loans. If you're looking for loans that are less than 6 figures, most banks are not interested in talking to you. The amount of the loan is not worth the amount of time that they put into it. They could spend the same amount of time on a $1 million loan as on a $50,000 loan. So it's not in their interest to make those real little loans. They're also some more risky. Anything under 3 years old, they usually don't want to bother with either. So it's sort of a niche that needs access to some other type of loan capital. And so nonprofits with small business loans fill that niche in a lot of parts of the country, some of them very successfully. For what it's worth, I used to run one in the Metro D.C. area here, so some experience in that. Besides just the money, they also often need counseling and really individualized technical assistance. They need somebody to help them write a business plan, to do cash flow projections that make sense, but not overly rosy, to help them with marketing, other things like that. Often they have a real skill in a particular area that they're going into, but they may not know how to do bookkeeping and some other things that if you don't know how to do it, you can end up losing your business later on. So it's trying to combine the capital with the training technical assistance. You may need capital for your own social enterprise. You may have your own money to do that. If not, you may have to go out and try and seek that as well. So there are other ways to also approach this. There's what I call sectoral strategy. So some groups have decided and trying to be everything to everybody, and every loan that comes in here is different. We try to learn each industry. We're going to focus on a few things that are particularly of interest to where we are. And some real-life examples are listed up here: energy, tourism, agriculture, food-related businesses, child care. So it's building expertise in those particular areas and concentrating your loans on that. It allows you to really become experts and to recognize quickly what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, what the likely problems would be. Business incubators have been used in some places, so shared space, sometimes shared services, and you help the businesses for the first couple of years to build up their clientele, and then after that they're able to go off to another facility on their own. A couple other things that are interesting is if you don't want to take on the risk of making the loans yourself or running a business yourself, one thing you can also do to have a real impact is working with the local governments, whether it's the towns or the county. You get them to develop an economic development plan that includes entrepreneurship. Sometimes it's writing applications for them, helping them to get funds in that they may not have the capacity on their own to do. We're actually going to have a webinar on May 3rd about this. Our friends from Garrett County will be participating, and as well as one of our members in Ohio, WSOS. If you're interested, I'd like to have you join us for that discussion as well. Another thing I've seen is business plan contests. So some towns that are having some difficulties in Virginia and small rural areas that have lost coal, lost tobacco, and they want to revitalize their downtowns, was figure out what kind of businesses would do well there, both among the locals and also to attract outside people, and then to have some business plan contests and to give some money to the winners and then help them locate in the downtown and to provide some technical assistance to them as well as part of that. And they've actually done very well with that and really done a good job in revitalizing a couple of little towns, Marion and St. Paul in Virginia. And they even advocated for a new state park like our folks in Oklahoma have described, which is helping revitalize that part of the state. Again, you can look at the assets that you have and then develop a plan based on that. It could be the natural beauty that we can have some discussion about that, and bringing in things like outfitters, restaurants, lodging. There's an example recently I came across in West Virginia. There's an area that lost a lot of coal jobs. A lot of the forest is owned by timber companies, and they've got roads cut through there, and the locals are using the existing roads to ride around in their all-terrain vehicles anyway. And so the local Chamber of Commerce decided, hey, we have this asset. All we have to do is market this and get the permission of the landowners. We'll pay for some insurance, and we'll do the marketing, and get people to come from around the country and ride their all-terrain vehicles all around these roads that are already there, and bring in people who have not been coming in. But they have no place to stay, no place to eat, and if you didn't already own the vehicle, there's no place to rent one. So they then had to go out and come up with a plan to make loans, provide the technical assistance, and now they've got all these things in place, and they're bringing in millions of dollars every year into that part of Southwest West Virginia. Agriculture and food-related things have become a focus for quite a few of the groups. Again, the idea of value added, farmers markets, food incubators, growing food and then marketing it to farmers markets, selling it to restaurants. Those are all ideas. Daycare is a big issue in a lot of the country. There's not enough daycare facilities, so again, making loans to help start the daycare facilities. Energy, you saw the slide about the wind farm. Another example is up in Alaska. They have a deal with a Scandinavian company that manufactures heaters that are specialized for the really cold area, and they then resell those to people across the state of Alaska. Use that as a social enterprise. One of our members in New Jersey is also doing solar power. I think one in California, an installation of solar power. Also helping existing businesses reach scale. I've had a couple examples up here. There's this group called Mason, this several years ago in eastern Kentucky. I was working with very small lumber mills that often were owned by a family. They didn't have much capacity, so they were not able to bid on some of the larger contracts. And so the way they got around that was they found a co-op, a marketing co-op, so that collectively these mills could bid on larger projects and then share among themselves the production. And so that was working well for them. A rural group up in Maine was able to make loans to a company that made sauce, a marinade type of sauce. So they really expanded and said, I could buy their products here in the D.C. metro area. They're all along the East Coast. Another thing that's kind of interesting I thought I would mention is This is a small loan. You wouldn't think that perhaps we're going to do a lot of good for the size of it, but it really led to the creation of a large, what's now a pretty large company. A woman in Colorado needed a small loan to pay fees to go to a trade show and to bring her product there. It's called Boppy, some of you might know. It was voted the best baby shower gift in America a couple of years running. It's sort of a U-shaped pillow that you use for newborns, and she couldn't get this thing shown without a loan. She got one from a microenterprise group there in Colorado, went to the trade show, and got lots of orders, and it just took off. She now has a multi-million-dollar company with more than 100 employees in Colorado that would not exist had it not been for the small micro loan that got her going to begin with. So big things can come out of small loans, is what I want to emphasize here. I mentioned the trails earlier, renovating property, and in a couple of places also you can abandon building in a small town, and one side was turned into an arts and cultural center. They had a lot of programs, and people are now coming to that as well. It was the second thing after you got the businesses attracted and relocated downtown. This gives people another reason to come, and while they're there at that, then they can patronize some of the other businesses that had received loans earlier on to complement some of the activity they've done previously. One of the ways to look at what social enterprise you might want to create if you want to go that route is look at what are you already doing. You have to do something radically different. And so in this example in Utah where a member of ours was running a Head Start program, and the director decided that the food was just really not good. It's not acceptable to her, and she wanted to get a new vendor. Couldn't find another vendor that could produce the quality that she was looking for. She said, well, in that case, we'll just do it ourselves. Because they didn't have a facility for that, so they had to buy little equipment now, little equipment later as money allowed until she was able to get it all together. Then opened a kitchen and produced the food for the kids in the Head Start program. Well, now all of a sudden they have an asset that could be used for other things besides that. There were other institutions that also needed food preparation, especially senior citizen centers nearby, some other places, and so they started producing the food for them and selling that. And then they realized, well, there's a lot of people in the community that do catering, and they need some place that's approved kitchen facility where they can prepare the food. So in the off hours when we're not using it, we can rent out space for them. And we can also have cooking classes and charge people money to come in and take these classes. So all of a sudden they started doing a lot of other things. It all grew out of just trying to make decent food for the kids. It was not originally planned to be a social enterprise, but now she makes $500,000 a year in profit that can go back into other projects that she did not have before. If you are doing job training, or want to get into job training, one way to complement that also is to have a social enterprise that can employ some of the people that go through the program. So they're not just trained and they don't have someplace to go. This is a way to give them some experience and jobs. So you see members running things like restaurants, moving companies, cleaning companies, handyman type of things, weatherization. So those complement what you're doing already, sort of the next step up. So it's not as big of a stretch. So it shouldn't be as scary, perhaps, as putting in wind turbines or a kayaking facility might be. And here's some other examples. A candy store, a hydroponic farm. We actually use people with disabilities in that facility to create or to grow things, but they then sell to area restaurants and the supermarkets there. Lawn services. Even the consulting company, one group in Indiana found that they were helping other nonprofits around the state and said, hey, why don't we start up our own consulting company and make some money off of this and formalize it, so they were able to do that. So there's all kinds of different ideas that have already been tried, and I'm sure you can think of some other ones. And these different projects that I've been describing can attract other money that you're probably not used to getting. There's different funding streams for different types of activities. So for economic development projects, you can go to, I'll put up a list here in a second, you can see some of them. Also the activities themselves can generate income. Small business loans generates interest and fee income. I mentioned some of the social enterprises that make a profit. So all these can make you less dependent upon government funding sources, which right now, especially in Washington, D.C., we're not sure what's going on. We mentioned that in Oklahoma having some budget problems a few years ago with the state parks, and that's certainly true in some other states. So this can try and give you a broader range of funding sources to go to. So I've listed a number of them up here. Hopefully we can make this slide available to everybody that's on the call and those who missed it, so you can see some of these and you can see the URL. So the Agriculture Department has a lot of small business loan programs. The SBA, Small Business Administration, has a microloan program. Something called CDFI, the Treasury Department, which has money, but I want to mention, besides just the money, if you end up getting a little bit of money from elsewhere, doing a few loans, you can go to them, and they will look at your group, and they can certify you as a CDFI, Community Development Financial Institution. Even if you never get a dollar from the fund itself, that has value. If you get to a local bank, the first question they're going to ask you if you're looking for a grant or you're looking for loan capital, are you a CDFI? If you can say yes, then it makes it much easier for them to give you grant under the regulations, the Community Reinvestment Act. Giving money to a designated CDFI is a big deal, so they really like to do that. So I urge you, if you go down the lending path, to check that out. Community Development Block Grant money, some of you may know about this already, but one of the uses of it is you can use it for a loan loss reserve. Again, if you go into doing lending, you'll need to get loan loss reserve money in order to attract the loan capital, and not a lot of people want to give you that. So the CDBG program is an important source of that money. You can see a couple other things on here. Your states may have programs, and the crowdfunding I put up here, just because one of our members in a rural area of Michigan was able to do this successfully. They use a crowdfunding platform that's up there in the Midwest, and we're able to raise a lot of money to renovate an old train depot. That's another example of renovating an abandoned building. It was just sitting there, no use to anybody, been abandoned for many years since the train quit stopping in a small town, and they're in the process of renovating now as they got the money. But their plan is to use it as a railroad museum, as the starting point for the rail to trails bicycle trail that goes from there, the community meeting room, the local Chamber of Commerce meets there, and there's also going to be an art gallery. It's also across the street from the senior citizen housing project that they put in. So all of that has complementary uses and bring people to the town in the surrounding area in the middle of Michigan there, and all that money was raised. Well, there's some from the state, but we had to have matching money. They raised all that matching money from crowdfunding, so that's another thing to take a look at. I just want to mention some upcoming activities that we are doing here at the partnership. I mentioned a webinar that we're going to have WSOS in Garrett County talking about May 3rd, but we have other ones on different aspects of community economic development, both housing and job creation. We're going to be doing some workshops and actually a CED tour at our annual conference in August in Philadelphia, so we urge you to come and to attend those. Every month they send out a community economic development electronic newsletter. If you're not on the mailing list, let me know, and we'll put you on. We do workshops around the field, so I'm going to Texas next month and Colorado in August. I'd be happy to come to other places as well. Again, let you know about that. We're going to send them profiles of our different members and some of the projects that they've done that relate to housing and economic development. And if we get a new website launch pretty soon, they'll be on that pretty shortly thereafter. I put up more with some question marks because we're trying to get some money raised to do some other things. So one of which hopefully would be to have money to actually do direct technical assistance. So if you want to go into this and you need some hand-holding, you need somebody to really help you come up with a plan, we could send out one of our members who has already done a similar kind of project or some other consultants that we're working with and pay them to help you out so you're not having to pay for that. So we'll keep you posted as our efforts proceed on that. I don't have that at the moment, but we hope to have that down the road. And this is my contact information, so feel free to contact me if you have questions or would like to discuss projects. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kevin. So, rural impact colleagues, what questions do we have for Kevin? Are there any questions? I have a question of oh, here's somebody unmuting. Someone have a question for Kevin? All right, so I'd like to ask a question of you all. So I placed it also in the chat window, and that is in light of what Kevin shared today, do you have maybe some new insights of what possible assets exist in your community that, you know, maybe have been untapped up to this point or that you are now curious about? Are there any of those that any of you would like to share? So then maybe the question is, would anybody like to share your experiences in general? So maybe there's some things that you're already doing that didn't come out into in today's discussion. Is there anything that you would like to highlight in that regard?
We've unmuted people otherwise, so you should be able to speak.
Okay, so Kevin says that maybe folks were muted before, so you may have started talking and we couldn't hear you. So if anybody has a response to any of the questions that I just put out, one being, do folks have any new insights about possible assets that exist in your community that maybe didn't strike you before today's presentation, so that you would like to share? Or if there's some interesting things that are already going on with your agencies on the economic development front that you'd like to share at this time, we'd love to hear from you.
Okay, we have one comment in the chat. This is from Greg Jackson. We have a lot of untapped resources in San Juan County. We're looking at several new businesses, including housing construction. So thank you.
Yeah, can I comment on that? I raised my hand, but I don't know if I'm on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we have launched a rather significant new kind of initiative in San Juan United for economic development because it's been so stagnant for so long. We have a lot of natural beauty, resources, tourism, Navajo Nation, other small businesses, and there's another initiative with two of our nonprofits, including the San Juan Foundation, to try and build small enterprises. We have a community development entity that was just established. We're working hard on that, and we also have a plan for low-income housing in a construction company. I'm not these are all in formation right now, but one of the things that I did want to mention that affects our area is that a great part of our county actually has a large digital divide, and I look at the, when I say that, I'm saying they don't have broadband access, and a whole bunch of information and access to new job opportunities and even telecommuting and other things could be accessed better in the southern half of the county where there really is no realistic broadband, no fiber or anything else. And I know as an economic development person that 80% of the global economy has been tied to that, to the internet development, that really connections there and building from there. And we have, it's really something else. So we are looking very seriously at putting in a new system of wireless broadband to the south part of the county in order to at least give access to tourism, small enterprises that are there that they can sell or develop or communicate and build other things, and that's particularly difficult in our area. If we don't do that, this is my personal opinion, I don't think that we will see the growth that we want in other areas because we're so remote. People have been here just so remote. I don't know if other communities are suffering from the same thing, but I'd be interested to see your ideas, Kevin, on that type of an initiative and whether there were resources you knew of to help us build broadband and telecommunications. We are working with the USDA Rural Development, several other sources, but that's my specific question, and I apologize if I spoke too long. Thank you.
Yeah, you touched on a major issue, I think, for rural America, that there's a lot of places that are suffering from the lack of broadband, and it does really limit the economic development, so that I think it won't reach potential in those areas, like you say, until we can deal with the problem. The only resources I know are the ones that you mentioned at USDA. I've seen some announcements with some money for helping to deal with that issue in communities, but I don't see anybody else really paying that much attention to it as a way of funding at the moment. So that's something I would like to see addressed more, because it doesn't get a lot of attention, but it's a big deal in the areas that don't have it.
It's a huge barrier for growth in our area. That's my point. We just can't see getting these small enterprises working effectively unless we give them that type of access, and they don't have the access now.
It looks like we have another comment from our folks in Highland County, Ohio. They're currently working with a diverse group through a criminal justice program to tap the resources of our state's park for economic development. It's in early stages, but looks to work through a multi-pronged approach to reduce crime and substance abuse, increase access to supportive services, include the voices of the community in developing local workforce opportunity. So, Christy, you want to add anything to that? Okay. If not, thanks. Well, it's helpful to know that you guys are working on that. Since I don't have a voice right now, sorry. Okay. Any other thoughts or questions?
So the other thing that I would like to just sort of re-emphasize, it's already been said, because Greg in Utah brought this out, that is that the USDA has made an investment in their broadband efforts in that community, and our hope is to actually have USDA join our group in the near future, because they have been paying close attention to our project and have invested quite a bit of resources through our VISTA volunteers, but really want to see a long-term return on their investment through more, substantial engagement between our sites and your regional USDA entities. And so just as the San Juan Foundation was able to tap into those resources to support broadband infrastructure building, the rest of you can, if you haven't already, engage in the same kinds of thing. And in addition to just the broadband construction aspects of things, for those of you who are interested in telemedicine, and there's just some other areas that they spend a lot of resources on, given their various domains or departments. And so there may be some examples that you all already are aware of that maybe you've already benefited from through USDA that you might want to share, but certainly we wanted to emphasize USDA as a resource, and our hope is to have them to actually come in to speak more specifically about the broad range of resources and opportunities for engagement around economic development that they have available for sites such as rural impact sites. All right. So, are there any other comments or questions that anyone would like to share at this time? So going once, going twice. All right. So if not, we want to thank Kevin again for joining us and for sharing the wonderful insights that you've shared with us today. Thank you to Little Dixie and to Garrett for taking us on a deeper dive in terms of your lessons learned related to community economic development. Hopefully this conversation will be one that continues for us as we proceed, and these slides will be available on Basecamp as they always are for you all to reference the resources that Kevin highlighted. So thank you again, Kevin. At this time, we're going to go ahead and make the transition to the next part of our meeting. I wanted to bring us back, though, real quick to our acknowledgement and tribute to Mr. Scruggs, who transitioned on last week, who passed away. And so for those of you who weren't on the call at the very beginning, he passed away suddenly about a week ago. And we took a moment just to have a moment of silence. I think I saw that Priscilla from Mississippi County is on the line. Priscilla, are you there? And if so, is there anything that you would like to share with the group at this time?
Yes, I would just like to say, thank you to everyone for their condolences, and to just say Mr. Scruggs definitely will be missed, by the staff here and the community. And as he would say, he will want us to continue so that we can make sure that his legacy that he started here in this community continues. And that's what we here would do at the EOC, to make sure that his legacy, as far as helping the community and helping others, so that's what, we're going to move forward. We just want to say thank you to everybody.
Well, thank you very much, Priscilla, for taking the time out. We know that this has been a difficult time for you personally and for the agency, and once again, we want to just express our deepest condolences. And I said this earlier, we share with you in the heartbreak of the loss of just such a wonderful person and treasure, not only in your community, but just for our nation. So you are in our thoughts and prayers. Thank you. And I will just bring to our attention that during this interim period, Priscilla has stepped in to Mr. Scruggs' role, so she will be our point person going forward in terms of engagement with the Rural Impact Project. So thank you again, Priscilla. At this time, I will pass the baton over to my colleague, Dana, who will lead the rest of our meeting today.
Thanks, Stephanie. Hi, everybody. I hope that you found that conversation really interesting. I know I did. I live in a very rural area. I know y'all think I live in Chicago, but my town has less than 200 people, and we're starting to have these conversations too, so I'm with you there. In any case, let's go through our updates. You can see here we're going to talk about the July convening, the Casey Foundation opportunity that we had, and the Ascend Institute's opportunity that's coming up in a couple of weeks. Moving on, so the July convening, we have dates. We are booked at a hotel. We will be there July 26th and 27th. The registration information will be coming out to you shortly. It'll be sent to our the executive director or main point person at the organization, so that you can pick your team who will be coming with you and send them the link that they can then fill out too. So as you can see here, it says that we will be supporting travel for 3 team members and your VISTA members as well. Janet Topolsky from the Aspen Institute will once again be heading the convening for us. She has been looking over information and we'll be talking to your coaches next week just to see what kind of things to put into the agenda that would be of best benefit for you. And Jean wanted to be sure to thank you for completing the survey about the priorities for the meeting. Seems like we ask you all the time, what do you want to learn and how do you want to learn it? And hopefully we'll be able to put your points into the agenda and make it a really good one. And like I said, registration information is going to be coming out shortly. We're going to be at the Darcy Hotel in DC. I know that much. And then our next. So you saw I had asked you to give us the information about what you would be doing with the Casey funds. Thank you to everyone for getting your information into us. When we went through it, it looks like 4 of you are going to do a retreat. So you're bringing someone in to help facilitate a retreat either with your staff or with your community partners. We've got one agency who's going to do a mobile TA opportunity, and then a facilitated mobile TA. We've got 2 other sites who are taking their coaches somewhere else to do a look in. And actually, I believe Maine, you're going to be visited by one of our sites. So I hope that that's a great one. And I hope that in one of our upcoming web meetings, we'll be able to share what we learned during those opportunities so that we can all better be informed about how it went and really what the takeaways were from those sessions. Okay. And then, like I said, in a couple of weeks, it's sneaking up on us, we've got the Ascend 2Gen Practice Institute. Jean and I will both be there, and we were curious who else is going to be there. I know I've heard from Clarissa in Iowa that she'll be there, and I believe members of the Ohio team, but is anybody else going to be there?
Garrett County will be represented by Dwayne Yoder and Barbara Miller.
Great.
And Mississippi County, Arkansas will be represented by Shirley Pulliam and Randon Carruthers.
Great.
Rochelle Garrett and Andrew McKeon.
Rochelle, okay. Thank you.
Dana, Maine will be represented by Charlie Martin, Barry, and myself.
Excellent. Thanks, Marcia.
Oh, and I'm sorry, we have one of our students going too. So Betty Slicer will also be attending.
Great. Anyone else going to be able to make it?
I'm saying I'll be there as well.
Great, Tiffany, thanks. And I know we had briefly talked about if we have a large enough contingent that we may get together and do a dinner or a breakfast or something like that. We just wanted to get a sense of how many folks were going to be there. So I'll let Jean know, and then we'll let you, of course, know what we have up our sleeve. So next on the list, we've got our next webinar that'll be happening on May 10th. And then finally, like I said, the convening is taking place in July on the 26th and the 27th in Washington, D.C. And then that's our contact information. You know, you can always reach us at ruralimpact@aap.org or any of our emails. Does anybody have any questions about anything, the convening, the Casey funds?
Hey, Dana, this is Greg, and could you just talk a little bit about how we facilitate making flight arrangements for that opportunity, the TA assistance?
Yeah. That's a great question. So all the flight needs to go through our AAP travel office. Jean, I'll be sending you that information, and so whoever, whether it's you traveling or you're bringing someone in, you'll share the contact information with our travel office, and it's really just you pick up the phone and tell them, you know, where you're going and when you want to get there. So, but I'll get that to you shortly. And I know that there was one site wanted to actually see our AAP travel policy on that, and I'm happy to share that with anybody else. It's really just because the money is being kind of funneled through us that we need to go through our office. But yeah, so again, I'll send that information out to you shortly. Any other questions? Well, like I said, if you do have any questions, send me a quick email or give me a call. Jean is out for a couple more days, but I'm happy to answer questions if you have them. And if not, I'll see a bunch of you in a couple of weeks, and we'll talk to the rest of you next month at our web meeting. Tiffany, did you have anything else?
Nope. Thanks to everybody. Have a great holiday.
Yes.
Thank you. Happy Easter.
Bye.